the very first question I always ask them is, how much do you think it costs to pave a dirt road to a paved road?
Can we tell people that right now? Because it blew my mind.
It used to be, 5-6 years ago, it used to be $1 million a mile generally, speaking depending upon what you were going to do. Now it's probably closer to $1.5 million to $2 million. And it's just insane.
1 mile.
1 mile. So, again, the county has about 150 miles of dirt road. So, if we tried to pave all of that now, it'd take us 2 or 3 SPLOST. And that's not even including, giving money to the cities. That would just be the county consuming 100% of SPLOST. And, obviously we know that that's not even remotely possible. The cities have their needs as well. But, it takes a lot to run government, especially.
What's up, Camden County? You are catching the Getting in Your Business podcast. I'm Alison Shores, your host from the Camden County Chamber of Commerce. And guys, we have got some great things to bring you today. It's going to be a lot of information, but I've got some really great people in here to help me break it down. So y'all get excited because we're about to talk about SPLOST IX. I've actually been getting a lot of questions about this, and I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know the answers. I don't know a whole lot about SPLOST. I don't know if that's should be embarrassing for me, but here we are. So I don't know a whole lot, and I'm hoping that you guys can educate me a little bit about what we are going to be voting on March 18th. Just so that we can get through this, I want each of you to introduce who you are, why you're here, who you're representing, all the things. So, Sean, I'm going to let you start.
All righty. So I'm Sean Boatwright. I'm the county administrator for the county, and I've lived in the county for 8 years now, and enjoy it, love it. It's a beautiful place. I'm from Southeast Georgia, so right in my backyard. I grew up in Brunswick, but it's an amazing opportunity, and
we're not going to hold that against you.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
continue.
I won't hold Blackshear against you.
Yeah,
yeah. But no, it's a great community. We're growing. Unlike some of the other communities, so I think we're doing a good job.
Awesome.
I'm Robbie Horton, City of St. Mary's. I'm the city manager. Been here for 24 years.
24 years.
Yes, ma'am. Been city manager for the last 4. Previously was the fire chief in the city of St. Mary's, and I came from the same neck of the woods as Sean, but this is home. I've raised my kids here. My grandkids are being raised here as well.
Yeah.
So it's home now.
Yeah.
Excited about being here.
Hey, good to be with you, Allison. Good to see you. My name's Alex Blount. I'm here representing 2 entities. I'm the current chair of the Camden County Public Service Authority, or PSA. And I serve as the elected representative, representing the city of Kingsland, where I've been elected. I think this is year 22 on council for me now. I'm a lifelong resident of Camden County, so that's 45 years plus. So certainly have seen and experienced a lot of the changes of the community, but excited for the opportunities that we have in front of us.
I mean, there have just been a lot of changes just in the last, 10 years that I know you and I have seen, Sean. So, all right, guys, we're going to get down to business. I feel like I really just want to say I appreciate you guys coming in, because it's it's important for people to know about this stuff and not just, read random opinions here or there. Let's get down to the facts. And so that's what I'm interested in today. I hope that you will ignore my stupid questions if there are any that come up. So let's just get down to SPLOST IX. I know it's not the sexy topic that I usually have in here, but it's still one that's important to us. So who's going to take this? What is SPLOST? Hey y'all, I'm interrupting this podcast so you can see the short PSA video from the county about SPLOST IX. Who pays for emergency vehicles in Camden County?
Taxpayers. I feel like that might not be the right answer. I don't think it's that straightforward, but yes, that's what I think.
Federal taxes.
I would say Georgia state taxes.
Taxpayers.
I would say property owners.
Okay, so the short answer is SPLOST. I know that's one of those subjects that everybody wants to click away on, but if you'll give me just a second, I will explain how it all works.
So as our community continues to grow, we need to expand and maintain our current infrastructure.
This includes fire stations, jails, roads, recreational parks, and even ambulances.
So how does SPLOST affect us as citizens? Well, it's a 1% sales tax. That means it's tax on a good purchased. It's not a property tax, and it's not a brand new tax. It's actually something we've been doing for the last 39 years in Camden County.
And here's the best part. A good chunk of this tax comes from visitors passing through Camden County. Tourists and travelers stopping for gas, dining at our restaurants, and staying in local hotels help fund projects that we benefit from.
So whether we're talking parks and recreation or purchasing an ambulance, SPLOST is crucial. So if you want to know more about it, just come see me and we'll talk more.
Well, SPLOST is the special local option sales tax.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It's
Try saying it 3 times.
I
really
can't,
fast.
like, what?
yeah, it's allowed within the state law for communities to be able to focus on capital improvements in their communities.
Mm-hmm.
That can be anything from structures to roadways to bridges to buildings to the upper end vehicles,
Mhm.
big capital, what we consider
Mhm.
capital improvement.
So, okay. So what is our sales tax right now? Can you kind of break that down for me?
Sure, yeah. So we're at 7% total right
Okay.
now. See, 4% of that is a state sales tax. That's
Okay.
4%. So 1% is a local option sales tax. It's called LOST. That is negotiated among the cities in the county every 10 years. That was actually done 2 years ago.
Okay.
Now 3, 2025. Keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
And then we have an educational SPLOST. So that's for the school board.
Okay.
E-SPLOST is what it's called.
And that can be used for things in the school system,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have their things, but
That's
okay.
right. Yes.
So that's how we have the fine arts
Right.
building, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have their own project list. They submit to the voters. I think every 5 years. I think is generally when they do theirs. And then you have the special local option sales tax, which is what we're discussing today. So the 3 local sales taxes plus the state 4% is where we're at now. So that's 7%.
Okay. So, all right. So this is kind of a continuation.
It would be. Yes.
It's not a new one. We're not adding on. This is just a continuation of what we already have.
Yeah. If the voters say yes and it's approved by a majority, then yes, it'd be.
But we're not adding one. And I think that's been that was one of the questions I got. Like, are we adding 2? And I'm like, what? I don't know. Let me get him in here and ask him. So, okay. So it is just a continuation.
It's just the project list can change. Can change. I mean, like ours is pretty much the same as it was because of our specific needs that we have.
Yeah, and just so everybody's clear, so like we do an intergovernmental agreement between the cities, the PSA, and the county. So that allows us, state law allows us to do a SPLOST referendum every 6 years. So SPLOST 8, which is the one that's currently in place, will end at the end of June. So June 30th of this year. If the voters approve SPLOST 9 on March 18th, then they would never see a change. The businesses wouldn't see a change. It'd stay at 7%. And, SPLOST 9 collections would begin on July 1.
Okay.
And last for 6 years.
Okay. Now, what are some examples of any successful projects that were funded by SPLOST 8?
Yeah, for the county specifically, public safety is a big portion of what the county does between the sheriff's office, fire department, as well as emergency management. So in SPLOST 8, there was quite a bit of funding for the sheriff's office, quite a bit of funding for fire rescue. One of the biggest pieces was the public safety radio communications plan. So we've got 4 towers, technically 5 alongside St. Mary's Tower off of Mush Bluff that we went into the digital age finally. We went from VHF to digital. So now we can actually not only communicate internally with everybody and actually have really sound, really crisp and clear communication to now we can actually communicate as far as, down into southern Jacksonville, even all the way up into McIntosh County. So all of our neighbors. So it's actually, benefited us really well. And we're actually using that now actively. So.
And I think those are all things people they just assume happen in the background and that we're keeping up these upgrades and, all these things, but there has to be a plan for it.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we just, I go about life and I just assume these things just happen, but turns out they don't just happen.
Yeah, when you call 911, you want the people to be able to answer, and then for them, the public safety officials to actually be able to communicate amongst themselves too. And I mean, there's, roads and bridges, park improvements. The county just resurfaced all of the county parks, basketball, pickleball, tennis courts. So those are some big improvements that we've seen on the county side. The health department, the brand new health department, if passerbys are going anywhere around the hospital where Winding Road is, that brand new brick facility that is going up. It's
looking really good. I just passed it the other day and I was like, man, they got it up fast. It feels like it may have been.
Yeah, we did the groundbreaking, I think March or April of 24. So we're looking to move into it probably by March of this year. So, it's a very deceiving building. It doesn't look that big from the road, but when you walk into it, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those, I think those are counties. I mean, I know the cities and the PSA have theirs.
Our big thing was maintaining being able to pay the water bill. I mean, that's just putting it very frank. But it covers the our bond payment that we have when we did the upgrade to our treatment plant. So you figure there's been $1 million, off the top of my head, $1.5 million every year that is paid on top of what is collected off of the water bill. So when St. Mary's citizens are looking at the water bill and they see that water bill 1, water bill 2, that water bill 2 is the part of the citizens are paying off that water bill is going towards that bond payment.
Okay.
So we take that and we take the bond payment, or we take the SPLOST, and we put them together to be able to make our bond payment on an annual basis. So it offsets putting that back on to the water user. So that's the biggest thing. We've also done some street projects. We've also bought some large vehicles, a grapple truck, and some other things. We've got 3 LMIGs, local maintenance.
Yeah, local maintenance improvement grant. Yeah.
I was like, don't be using acronyms in here. I need to know what that means. Yeah.
But anyway, we've got 3 of those that we're working through the process. So some of this money that we've got is going to be paying for our side of it. Those grants are come in at like 70%. We have to pay the 30%.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the big stuff for us.
What about for you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of successes to look back at 8. I'll start with Kingsland. Over $2.5 million related just to the fire department, right at $1.6 million, and the renovation and expanding the footprint of one of our fire stations. That's Fire Station 4 on Gross Road.
Which it looks amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it's a nice facility. We're proud of that. Over $920,000 for a new ladder truck. It's when we see a fire truck, and I don't think a lot of folks understand just what those large items cost. Those capital items that these local entities have to provide to make sure we're looking out for public safety. But just $2.5 million just between those 2 items.
That's wild.
You have to have a fire truck, and you have to have a fire station to house your people in. So those are the a couple of the items that I would point out and say, absolutely our local property taxes would have paid for those, and those items were not paid for because the SPLOST state funds were available to the city of Kingsland to use. You could go down a list. You talked about resurfacing. Some of our big ones were Scrubby Bluff, over $350,000, Wildcat, May Creek Drive, the Wildcat Sidewalk Project. That was something that as we started having more young people walking, that was something we were able to really say, hey, this is a new need. This wasn't one that was forecasted 5-6 years ago, and those funds helped us to accomplish that.
And, I think when I ride by, especially since I've been doing the military tour, I see all the signs that says your local, your sales tax, your SPLOST, whatever it is, the signs. And I think we all pass by those, and but truly understanding it is a whole nother level. And your point about fire trucks, also ambulances, and
I think for SPLOST 8, I think we purchased 4 or 5 ambulances. There was over $2.5 million. I remember buying an ambulance for $225,000. Fully outfitted, everything, and that was about 8 years ago. And now we're seeing ambulances closer to $500,000.
That is so wild. I mean, I guess I've just never stopped to think about it, but
When I came here, fire truck you could get for around $275,000. I'm talking a custom fire truck.
Yeah.
Now you're paying around $750,000.
And it takes you 2 years to get it.
And it takes 2 years to get it.
Yeah. So
I just don't think people realize, because I know I didn't. Like I said, these things just happen. So we have fire trucks because of this, that, and the other. I don't ever really stop to think about it, and I think people really need to stop and think about it.
I need to jump in real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
forgot that I'm representing two entities.
You are?
On the PSA side of the house. Just the roof replacement alone for that facility. The PSA had been pushing off. We finally bit the bullet on, and that was around $480,000. And we talk about, a $500,000 improvement to an existing facility. It's certainly very important for our community, and that was fully funded from SPLOST 8.
And I these buildings, regardless if, let's say, the SPLOST hadn't passed, like that building would still need a new roof.
Yeah, and that would would have been the PSA's funding partner, which would be the county government, the city of St. Mary's, the city of Kingsland, the city of Woodbine, on their percentage split would have paid for that. To use rough math, Kingsland was contributing last year roughly about $50,000 a month. So if you broke it down like that, I mean, almost half the year, for would have been for one of the three big entities just to replace the roof for that one project,
right?
Had it not been for that. So maybe, phrasing it like that helps it easier for folks to understand the value of SPLOST.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to be voting on March 18th. I'm sure early voting will be before then. I'm not sure the dates. But coming up, what are some of the projects that are going to be slated for funding? And honestly, how did you guys determine what the priorities were?
Yeah, so I think I think every entity, has kind of a base knowledge over what some of the major needs that they have. At least for the county, we have a jail that desperately needs to be replaced. So that's going to be a big, a decent portion of SPLOST IX. There's some other projects that are kind of along the same funding level, but the jail is going to be a big bullet for us to, take on, probably a $40 to $50 million facility. There's $10 million set aside out of SPLOST IX, and I know there's quite a bit of funds set aside for local parks and future park expansions and growth. So I think, we see, the comments on social media. We pay attention to those. We track our own social media accounts, and I think that the public really wants more, investments made into the parks, and the county has been trying to do that with our parks. I know the cities and the PSAs obviously working towards that as well. There's some partnerships that we've got going on with the PSA, so we're going to continue that. We're looking at purchasing 7 ambulances over the next 6 years. Our fleet, even though we have purchased 4 and 5, we actually purchased 5 in the last 6 years. They age. We put a lot of miles on our ambulances. I was actually looking at a run report last year. We crest 8,000 calls for EMS last year.
Wow.
That's quite a bit of calls.
Here in Camden County, that's a lot. Okay.
Yep. So, it's quite a bit of calls. And we're growing, as a community. Our population is growing. So the more we grow, the more times we're going to have to respond. And, I know St. Mary's has a new TAD coming on close to Exit 1, and we're possibly going to be looking at putting another ambulance there, and even possibly out at Harriet's Bluff. So, we're looking at growing our EMS, support and services. So as we grow as a community, we've got to take that into account. So ambulances is going to be a big portion for us. And, roads and infrastructure, the county's got about 300 miles that we maintain. About 135 of that's paved. The rest are, dirt roads. But we're looking at trying to pave as many roads as we can. The more times you pave them, the less maintenance you got to do with motor graders and all that. And, of course, you got to have public safety equipment. Sheriff's office vehicles, other pieces of equipment for public works, that kind of thing. So those are very kind of county specific, but those are things that we're looking at trying to do for SPLOST IX.
Okay. Tell me about St. Mary's.
We're still we still got that bond payment out there. That's the bottom line. We're looking at $1.7 million a year to be able to put towards that, help to get us to there. like right now, currently our bond amount is $22 million. So that it was originally 44 million. So
Look at us cutting it in half.
we're getting there quickly. It is working. But that's the big one. Then we've still got roads and streets and bridges and equipment, heavy equipment. We've got some grants to support
Mm-hmm.
that we've got a TAP grant currently, but that's going through the engineering phase. So when we get into the construction phase, there's going to be a match for that. Rehab of existing structures is always a big one. It's not as easy as going out and putting a coat of paint on some things. Sometimes you've got to put
And I
a
think I feel like in our minds it is like, just get some paint over it, paint it back, and it'll be fine.
I'll tell you, well, I don't know if it's the oldest government facility, but our historic courthouse is approaching 100 years.
Is it?
Soon, yeah. So built in 1928. So
Wow.
3 years from now, we'll be celebrating 100 years in that building. So it's that's actually part of our project list, is trying to rehabilitate it. Some of the plaster is starting to fall down, so we're going to have to.
When you start talking plaster, I mean,
Yeah.
that's almost a dying art.
Well, and then when you add the word historic to it,
There's all kinds of things that go along with that.
it basically adds dollars.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Now, Alex, what you
Yeah,
got?
a summary for Kingston would be water sewer projects at 7.4 million, facilities at 3.2 million. That includes remodeling of Fire Station 3, remodeling a portion of the North Center, and turning MSB into an archive center for us. Then the 3.9 million that'll be road, sidewalk, and drainage projects. Obviously, drainage is not something that you complete and it's done. It's an ongoing process that you're continually improving and planning and working through. And then $350,000 that'll go to machinery for the solid waste fund. So that's another example of where we talk about the ways, in this case, specific to the cities, where money comes in. But there's enterprise funds, your water sewer fund, your solid waste fund. So your property taxes don't go to that. Those funds have to be self-sustainable. They have to pay for themselves. And so this is an example of $7.4 million to water sewer projects that we have to do that SPLOST IX would cover. That without that, it would be the end user, the fees going up for those services.
i.e. water, sewer.
Absolutely.
But we as the
Sure.
consumer will feel that
Yes.
Absolutely.
because I mean,
But, and think of it this way, when we like those fees that he's talking about, if it were reflected back to the consumers, they're toting the brunt of it.
exactly.
But with SPLOST, the visitors stopping at the gas station at Pilot or on either side of the road
Because
helps to pay for that and takes the burden
Yes.
off those consumers.
so when I was doing,
That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's
I guess-
we had a percentage years ago.
Yeah, I don't recall what the exact percentage is, and I don't know what it is now because we've changed, over the last 10 years. But I think you could probably reasonably say that it's probably a 60-40 or 70-30 split. Where you got 60% of the locals who are still shopping in Camden County. They're paying.
that's what we push. We want them to. Yes.
So they're paying part of that 1 penny sales tax, and then you probably got 30 or 40% of passerbys or tourists or visitors, families coming into Camden County that are contributing to that. So I don't know the exact percentage, but I think you could probably reasonably estimate somewhere close to that.
But
Seems like that's about what it was years ago. It was in the 30% range.
I-95 is a major contributor.
I was about to say, and a lot of people stop here before they're going into Florida, or they'll come out of Florida and stop here as the first Georgia exit. And
Why not?
Do what?
And why not?
Right? Exactly.
See?
Yeah. Awesome. Now, I love that y'all all came to the table to discuss this. It wasn't, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that's how we get to this. The priorities are determined. But all these projects, I mean, like you were saying earlier, they still have to happen. Like maybe not every single one of them, but a lot of these projects that are on there, they're getting them up to code or getting them up to the regulate, whatever it is. And so at some point, these things have to be done, and like they're at the point, right?
Yeah, there's one neighborhood, Summerfield, that we have engineering complete, and we need to make about $430,000 worth of improvements to culverts. It's all related to drainage. That project has to happen, and it's going to happen with or without SPLOST.
Yeah.
But SPLOST can fully fund it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, just, we talk about roads, and I know some people, I go to college classes from time to time and educate them on what public administration's about, what does local government do for you? And the very first question I always ask them is, how much do you think it costs to pave a dirt road to a paved road?
Can we tell people that right now?
Mile.
Because it blew my mind.
It used to be, 5-6 years ago, it used to be $1 million a mile generally, speaking depending upon what you were going to do. Now it's probably closer to $1.5 million to $2 million. And it's just insane. I mean,
1 mile.
1 mile. So, again, the county has about 150 miles of dirt road. So, if we tried to pave all of that now, it'd take us 2 or 3 SPLOST. And that's not even including, giving money to the cities. That would just be the county consuming 100% of SPLOST. And, obviously we know that that's not even remotely possible. The cities have their needs as well. But, it takes a lot to run government, especially whenever you talk about capital investments, just the public safety, the public works side of things. And that's not even mentioning the facilities updating and upkeep and, growth. I mean, SPLOST has helped pay for the county courthouse and the county annex building. So, I mean, it's really contributed to a lot of the growth that we've experienced. And I think the best thing for that is that it's not all paid by our property taxpayers. So,
well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, how does SPLOST? I mean, does it really reduce the burden on the taxpayer? I mean, on the property tax.
I think it does more than just that. I mean, yes, it does. But to Alex's point, talking about the fire trucks and the fire stations and things of that nature, when you put fire stations in strategic locations, I'm sorry, I've got my other hat on. But when you put them in certain locations, it helps to reduce that ISO rate, which is
ISO,
Insurance Service Office. Okay. That's who governs what you pay for your fire insurance on your homeowner's insurance.
Okay.
So the better you get with that, the lower you bring that number down, the less you have to pay on your homeowner's insurance. So I would say that you see a benefit there, but you also see a benefit in the quality of life that you have for your community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that's the bottom line, to be able to ride down. Granted, we grew up on old dirt roads back in he's younger than I am.
What?
Used to love old dirt roads, but, as it's more enjoyable to ride down a paved road than it is an old washboard dirt road.
Right.
That's a quality of life, especially with the value of vehicles that we've got now. I mean, so you want to take care of them to have them for a longer period of time.
And again, to circle back to, the ISO and the insurance is a good point to bring up, but then still want to really, remind everybody of the enterprise funds. Solid waste for the city of Kingsland has to support itself. Whenever we're able to buy a $275,000 rear load truck or a $350,000 side load truck or a $325,000 limb wagon, and it come from a local option sales tax, in this case the special, is certainly a benefit to the end user, who is our taxpayer. And that doesn't matter if you're a homeowner or if you're renting, you're paying your landlord or you're paying the trash bill yourself. Same thing for the water sewer side. 7.4, almost $7.5 million for SPLOST IX, specific to water sewer projects, is significant.
I think that's a good point too. You just brought up, because property tax, you own property, but with a SPLOST or a LOST or whatever, that's everybody. That's the people that live in apartments that don't own property but live here, and so they're paying their share of it as well. So that it kind of evens out the burden for everybody in that community. And you got visitors that come in and spend money in your community, and that certainly helps.
I think one of the other misconceptions that I pick up on from time to time and just talking with citizens is I think sometimes they believe that government does not bear the same issues like inflationary changes, or construction cost changes, and we do. We get hit with it probably more so, I think, than the general taxpayer. I've seen inflationary growth for us just in construction cost. We've seen construction costs skyrocket. I know the citizens have as well, but for us, a commercial building, and again, you got to remember you are planning, the next 6 years now.
Exactly.
Right. So you're anticipating that nothing crazy is going to happen over the next 6 years, like COVID. Right.
Yeah,
Let's not bring up COVID.
Yeah. I hate that word.
Exactly. So, when COVID did happen, for SPLOST IX, the health department, for example, we were anticipating that to be about a $4.5 million project. It's closer to $6 million now. Mainly because of, the inflationary growth of construction cost. And we're very fortunate that our community is growing, that we are actually collecting more than what we anticipated in SPLOST. And we're very thankful for that. But, I think that just goes to show that you have to really think about just about anything and everything when you're planning these projects to make sure that, the projects on the list are actually being, appropriately taken care of financially. If it passes. So, there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and really trying to project what you think the economy is going to do over the next 6 years. It takes quite a bit. And
I can't imagine.
6 years.
A lot has changed in 6 years. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. I haven't been here that long. And so, so much has changed. And so many things have happened that you can't predict. I mean,
Sean, you brought up a good point when you talk about the bits and pieces we get or the concerns we get, good or bad. I have certainly earned a reputation of being very fiscally conservative, especially when it's Kingsland funds, taxpayer funds. And a good friend of mine asked me, if basically how do you support or how do you share with somebody what is meaningful and what successes you have with the SPLOST, and yet it's a tax, and fundamentally I don't really like any tax. I want them to be as low as possible. But we talk about quality of life. We talk about the needs that our rec department has. The PSA. We say fields, and we built a field 20 years ago, and we act like we don't have to constantly pour resources and energy and everything else to those facilities. And SPLOST is one of those tools that certainly allows us to do that, where it's not just every time you turn around hammering on the taxpayer that, hey, I need more money from you. The other benefit of SPLOST is it's specified projects. We're disclosing what those projects are going to be.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly fair, and that's what I told my friend, hey, it's certainly fair for you to judge the city of Kingsland and say, hey, you did a good job with this SPLOST or you didn't. And that's the part of making sure we're offering the community and educating the public any opportunity we have, so that we can say, hey, these are the successes. These are the things that we absolutely would have had to do with ad valorem tax if SPLOST VIII hadn't been available. Now forecasting forward to SPLOST IX, this is the successes that we're going to be able to share there as well.
And just to kind of share the differences between SPLOST VIII, SPLOST IX. SPLOST VIII was SPLOST VIII was $55 million referendum.
Okay.
SPLOST IX is going to be an $85 million referendum. So, I think what that kind of shows you is, one, the growth of the community, right? So doesn't necessarily mean people are spending more. It definitely means that inflationary costs have gone up, considerably. I mean, the goods that you're paying for now were not the same price that you were paying for 5 years ago. I think we see that at the grocery store.
Yes, even 2 years ago.
Right. So there's some different, factors that are equating to that. But, I think for the most part, the majority of that is we're growing as a community. And as we grow, it's beneficial for us to, potentially have these resources available to us so that we can reinvest into the community. And I think, the biggest piece of SPLOST is a reinvestment. It's a way in which not only is your local property taxpayers, assisting in the reinvestment of the community, but it's also those people that come into our community. I mean, let's just face it, a good share of the people that come into Camden County traveling up and down 95 are end users of our ambulances, which SPLOST funds. So the fire engines, the fire trucks, tankers, police vehicles, all of that. So, I think we don't just respond to the local taxpayer. We respond to everybody. Anytime they pick up that phone, they call, we respond.
Yep. Wow. This has been a lot of information, guys. Now I know I want to find out. I know you're going to do some open houses where people can actually come in and ask questions one-on-one, and I think that's very important. I'm hoping that a lot of people will decide to do that instead of just, not understanding and knowing exactly what this is, and just. I hope that people will take advantage of this. When are you doing those? How can people kind of follow along if they want to know more information? If they can't make it to these open houses, is there another way that people can find out like what's going on?
Yeah, so we're planning on doing open houses in each jurisdiction. So I think the first one's going to be in Kingsland, St. Mary's, and then Woodbine. Those will be planned over the next, I think one's January 25th.
28th.
28th. 28th. Month, yeah, correct. I got a lot of things going on.
Listen, I'm going to go ahead and give dates. So January 28th, then we'll have one on February 11th, and then one on March 11th.
There you go.
The February 11th there's a question mark by that.
Okay.
We'll have one in St. Mary's. That's the one for.
But this will be on your social media page,
Yes.
as far as when they're happening.
It'll be on our social media, it'll be on our websites and things of that nature, and we'll make announcements on a regular basis.
I do want to say this about you guys. I appreciate the fact that one, you came in here and weren't afraid to talk about this with me, because I don't know all the answers to the questions. I don't know a whole lot about SPLOST, so I'm just I want to figure it out for the people that are asking us. And two, I want to say that I'm so glad I love when you all come to the table. My city, county, PSA, just all of it. I think it's very important, and I just appreciate your time today.
Just an add-on to that.
Okay.
This isn't the only time we've done it.
Oh, I know.
What I'm saying is, we've had 8.
So SPLOST was
like 8 times just to talk through, hash out, and discuss percentages and projects and things of that nature. It's been one of our more collaborative efforts.
But I love that. I want y'all to do it all the time, okay? But I get really, you do.
And they were open to the public. Those meetings were open to the public. We did make announcements.
And I'll say this too. Camden County's been, comparative to other communities that I've seen in the state, has been very, successful with SPLOST elections. So there's never been one that's failed in Camden. We're approaching SPLOST IX, and SPLOST has been around in state law since 1985. So I think that's
really.
So I think that's a testimony to. Camden's commitment to reinvestment and growth. I think it helps out the local tax base.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I know that you'll have a website up soon, or the things will be on your website so that people can follow where these things are going to be. I know the first one will be January 28th, so mark your calendars. Make sure you follow the cities and the county on their website and their, social media. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to say? I just appreciate you being here.
No, thank you for the platform, the opportunity. And
no,
so
absolutely.
We look forward to some public engagement and kind of debunking the myths as they come up.
Because there are a lot, and I think it's because people just don't, this is so much. And so I think there's just misconceptions everywhere. And in this day of just information running rampant, true or false, it's just people hear what they want to hear and then run with that, and it may not be factual. So I think, and that's why I want to talk to you guys, because you're the ones behind it, figuring out what these projects are. You guys know your community very well, and you're in it every single day with the problems, the good things, the good times, bad times, everything, and you know our needs, and we're very fortunate to have you in our communities, and just thank you so much for being here.
And I'll say this too, just one final piece. I think there's going to be differences of opinions on
absolutely,
the project list or what the county and the cities are doing in PSA, but I don't think any of us sitting here would not want to do every single thing that the voters want us to do. Problem is we're limited on how much we actually collect. So I think one of our past chairmen, Jimmy Starline, used to always say, money will solve a lot us. And the problem is there's limits with money.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think if we had unlimited, budgets, we would probably be able to fix a lot of things quicker.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys. Thank y'all for being here. That's it, guys.